Alright, guys. Alright, guys. So today is the beginning of our back mount defense semester, and also back mount escapes. We're going to start today talking about some basic defensive principles that, let me put it to you this way. We're going to start with, we've already fucked up, they took our back, right? How do we minimize the degree in which that problem is going to continue to increase in severity? Does that make sense? Like I want to stem the bleeding, then we can start working on getting it. So let's talk about some basic principles. So if you can take my back, and I would say, well, you guys should just probably go over there. So John, you got my back. All right. A couple things to think about, okay? So standard back mount procedure, right? We understand that as long as he has this seatbelt, he has the ability to start attacking me for chokes, and he has a really good beat on the position. We just did that drill Crazy Horse, and we see, like, once they have a seatbelt in, even when you clear the hooks, it's hard to actually shake them off because they can use the seatbelt as an anchor to start kicking their hips backward, right? Okay? So the seatbelt is almost always the first thing that we want to address. The first thing I want to talk about, and this is going to come up over and over again in the semester, especially when we start talking about choke defense. And if you know me, you might anticipate what I'm going to say when I start going into this direction, which is a lot of people make the mistake of trying to control the seatbelt, like at the arms, and try to pummel their way in. Like, that's stupid, that's not going to work, okay? Guys, the point where a seatbelt is always weakest, the point where any grip is always weakest, the hands, well, the fingers, yeah, we're not allowed to grab. In a street fight, you just like start peeling these, hit them with like a finger bar. But in terms of things we're allowed to grab, the weakest point of the grip is always going to be the weakest, right? So he has the seatbelt. So the first thing I can start doing with this seatbelt is start attacking at the hands to peel this thing apart. If I can peel this thing apart, I can windshield wiper my way in, bring my elbows on the inside. This is the position I would like to work from. Elbows against my body, hands in front of my neck, protecting myself, okay? Quick note about this. I am not doing something like this. I'm not freezing my hands in place, okay? Because he's not a statue, or like he's not a animatronic machine designed to attack me in one direction, right? Meaning that if I hunker down here, he has different ways in which he's going to approach trying to choke me. So if you start trying to choke me and I just stay here on a bench, now attacking, like on a long enough timeline, he'll figure out a way to start attacking for something, right? What I want is my elbows in, my hands up, and I want active hands, right? So if he starts reaching in for collar grips and stuff, I'm being active and fighting off his hands. Does that make sense, guys? We're actively fighting. I'm not like reaching out like I'm swatting like a swarm of bees away, but I'm here and I'm carrying his hands away. If he gets the seatbelt back, let's say you get the seatbelt back, I'm immediately fighting to the hands, breaking those apart. Always breaking the hands apart, okay? This is going to become especially important as well because if John gets a good collar grip, so you get a good collar grip, right? Right, and it's nice and deep. Yeah, okay, here's the thing about this. And you don't even, actually, you don't go and hold on this. And we'll talk about this more at length in later lessons. If I try to fight this choke at the elbow, go ahead and put the choke on me. He's going to get it. If I fight this choke at the wrist, it's a little better. Go ahead and put the choke on. It's like I can try to run, but I'm eventually going to choke. Guys, whenever you're defending chokes, pointer knuckle, please choke. Go ahead. No, it's not pleasant. I mean, I'm not sitting here like drinking mojitos, but like, go ahead and put the choke on. It's like,
next time we can just try that.
But I'm okay as long as I go to the pointer knuckle. The second I release, I go to the wrist. Same thing. Like go ahead and same amount of pressure. The choke, start choking. So the hands are always the weakest point. So if they ever get collar grips, I'm peeling. And what I like to do, guys, so the pointer knuckle is the weak point. That's the place for collar chokes and rear naked choke stuff. We'll talk about that more in the future. But let's say it's the collar grip, pointer knuckle, and I like to wedge, if I can, start kind of grabbing on the inside. So I'll show that on the camera. Let me actually loosen this up. So what I'm doing here is, say turn your palm up, please. is like when I get the pointer knuckle, my fingers are going in, so I'm almost grabbing the inside of the hand. So he gets the collar grip, I get here, and I start peeling those hands off. Does that make sense, guys? One more thing before we just split off the drills. I just want to talk about some of these basic defensive hand fighting things before we start going into escapes, because the reality is that as much as I'm going to give you detailed steps on and concepts for how to escape these positions, or how to escape the back mount, you're going to be fighting off chokes the whole way through. You're going to be fighting off seatbelt attempts all the way through. You might even be in a seatbelt all the way through. The point is like we have to address how we want to break this thing apart. Because if I'm escaping, let's say at my back, if I'm escaping, and as I'm escaping, he punches this lapel, say he takes your right hand and punches the lapel across, retracts this arm. So before, instead of grabbing here, right hand punches the lapel, left hand pulls out, goes over, grabs the choke grip, now I'm in straight. I have to be able to deal with that. I have to be able to deal with the fact that he's going to try to choke me. So you get back to the back mount, right? So again, the first thing is fighting the hands, getting to the inside, protecting yourself, actively parrying if he's trying to grab seatbelts, trying to grab chokes, just keeping everything in tight. If he gets a collar grip, fighting at the pointer knuckle to break that apart, or at least, stall it out. And then the last thing that we need to address, and this will become more important as we start making escapes, is that the one thing I have to always make sure I do not let happen is I cannot let his head get closer to the floor when I start escaping than mine. Okay? Meaning, let's just say you have a seatbelt. Okay? If he gets his head, so listen to be like Master Yoda right near here. Cool? So if I'm here and I start trying to escape at this escape, let go of the hooks. I can hold the seatbelt tight. I can go out here all day. Does it look like I'm getting free? Right? No, he's going to bridge into me, turn me towards the mat, and he's going to recover his back mount. However, if I get my head to the floor first, if I don't let his head get to the mat, it's like now he doesn't have the ability to bridge into me. If I clear these hooks, if you try to bridge me over, he's actually the one who's now immobilized. Not here, Alice. Ben, they're good. I was like, right, Alice is the camera. Wait. Alice is my normal go-to, medium-sized human. So you have the
Not
seatbelt.
tiny.
Right? Just to quickly go through all that one more time. So he has the seatbelt. The first thing is, if I'm going to break apart the seatbelt, I'm always fighting at the hands. A good place to grab hands, guys, is, you lose for a second, please? Is at this sort of wedge around the thumb joint. This is like the wedge of the thumb and the pinky knuckle are really good places to pop grips. Like, say you grab that seatbelt nice and tight. So it's like if I can get under that thumb joint, you see like his hand just starts peeling off. Likewise, if I can get under the pinky, this one's a little bit weird of an angle for this, but it is a pretty strong break. Pop there. Pummel inside with the hands first, and then here, right? Parrying actively, if you start trying to grab stuff, right, I'm just like keeping it from actually getting a hold of me. If you do get that collar grip, go ahead and get a nice deep collar grip. Again, once I point out, if I grab the elbow, go ahead and put pressure on that choke. Like, no good. Grab the wrist, go ahead and hold tight. Get that choke. If I hold the wrist, get a little deeper on that grip. If I hold the wrist, go ahead and choke. Ow. No good, no good. Now hold tight. I get the pointer knuckle, please choke me. Again, not drinking mojitos, but I'm okay. Peel the hand off, and then what I'm looking for is my head to find one side. I don't have to necessarily drive back it, but if I'm going this way, my head has to be closer to it than him. Does that make sense, guys? Thank you, Ben. Thank you, John. Let's just pair up and just work. Just play through those sort of little micro battles, and then we're going to talk about actually getting on out of here. All right, let's start on working out. 1, 2, 3.